Hi, welcome back to Engine Shop Joe. Today I wanted to talk about something that I think is very important, and that is making sure that your clean air intake system is doing a good job for you and keeping the dirt out. And unfortunately, what happens is a lot of guys will just be running, and they don't realize that there's a problem someplace letting dirt in the engine. And then by the time the symptoms start to show up, which is usually blow by, crankcase pressure, uh, the engine's pretty severely damaged in terms of the ring to cylinder wall sealing capabilities. And that's usually just because the dirt gets in and it basically grinds at the face of the ring and at the wall of the liner, and it breaks down that seal area, damages it. And then we've got the cylinder pressure sneaking by the rings. And these days, all the engines have crankcase pressure sensors, and a lot of them have crankcase filters. So if you notice that your crankcase filter, you have to change it way more often than you used to, you might want to get a blow-by check and see what the blow-by actually is under load. So I just want to show you a few signs to look for when you're working on your engine. And I don't want anybody to get paranoid, but I do highly recommend, if you go get work done to your engine, most of the time they're going to take the intake piping off. When you go get your truck and pick it up, open the hood and check all the clamps on the intake pipe from the air filter, clean air out, all the way to the turbocharger. Any joints, connections, because I have seen where people put the intake boot back on, they forget to tighten the clamp on the turbo, or they really don't tighten it that tight. Clamps get old, they get rusty, they get dirt in them, and if the guy's using a screwdriver, he might not be able to get that clamp torqued to where it should be. And I'm not going to give you torque ratings on the clamps, because if you have a high torque clamp, that's different than if you have a standard screw type clamp. So just make sure that everything's tight. And then we're going to take a look at some pictures here of systems that had dirt in them. I want you to pay particular attention to the turbocharger intake impeller and look at the leading edge of a couple of the vanes. And you'll see that this engine had a lot of dirt go through it. And the engine that you're looking at, what happened was it was actually in a crane, and the crane's intake system is underneath the back of the machine. And it had steel pipes, and one of the pipes actually had a hole rotted through it. And so it took the engine right out. But dirt is dirt. It doesn't matter how it gets in. When it gets in, it's going to damage your engine. So you want to keep the system clean. Okay, let's take a quick look, and thank you for joining me in Engine Shop Joe. This is inside of the clean air intake pipe. You can see the amount of dirt down in that fold in the boot. And one of the things I found out over the years is that on the aluminum pipes, water and dirt will slowly work their way in and it'll corrode pits into the aluminum pipe and make a path. So we used to use RTV and seal all the boots of the pipes like you're caulking a window joint, and that worked really well. Here you've got an orange turbocharger boot, and in the folds in that boot, where on the outside you see those steel rings, on the inside you see these folds. I could take my finger and just scrape the dirt out of here. When you see that, that means you've got an extreme amount of dirt that got in. Once you see the dirt here, it's gone through the charge air cooler, and the charge air cooler is going to need to be taken off and cleaned if the engine was damaged by the dirt. Here we have the turbocharger. Look at the blade that's about at 4 o'clock position. You can see a chip in the leading edge of the blade. And this is a severely damaged intake impeller. Would it still run? Yes, it'll run down the road just fine. The problem is that there was so much dirt that got in that it damaged the blades. So the turbo would work, but the engine's probably in pretty bad shape by the time you see that. Now you noticed that center bolt's got a hole in it. If that hole is empty, then you're probably still in pretty good shape. If it's packed solid with dirt, you're probably right on the verge of seeing blow-by faults or oil consumption, or both if you haven't already. Thank you for joining me on Engine Shop Joe. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell your friends. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.